Working with young people for me has been one of the biggest test of my life. I don't understand them half of the time. I don't.
That bring me to the question that was not even there. It has just popped in my mind. You work with a lot of young people, like literally everyone in your space is a young person, other than maybe two of your drivers or that. How do you deal with this?
Yeah. So I think only the two drivers at Stada are older than me. Everyone else is younger. I cannot say that everyone has been difficult working with. I think I have seen a lot of young people that have exhibited so much maturity, like maybe even more mature than I am. So I don't think it's an age thing per se, but there's definitely a problem. And I think it's a parenting problem. I think it's a problem with how people have been raised. There's very little to no accountability. There's a lot of apportioning of blame. There's like zero consequences. Like people want to be able to do whatever they want and never have to pay any consequence. Working with young people for me has been one of the biggest test of my life. I don't understand them half of the time. I don't understand it. And there's this thing that is cropping up where every single thing is about me. Everything is centered around me. I can come and slap you and then you tell me that you slapped me because I provoked you. And the provocation becomes the main issue, not the fact that you slapped me.
Yeah.
Like everything is so self-centered, everything is so revolving around self that it's very, very confusing to me. I don't understand how people can be that self-absorbed. And I'm not saying everyone, I am saying most. What the other thing that also does not make sense to me is this thing of I don't have to work hard. I just do the bare minimum and go home. I don't understand it because I've never lived that reality. I've always been the person who does more than I'm supposed to do.
People want to work smart.
People are working smart. Like they don't... At 5 a.m., everyone is at the door. People are rushing to leave. It's like there's a fire that has broken on. And I'm like, I don't get why hard work has gone out of style.
You want to be street smart.
Yes, I don't even know whether it's street smart. I just think people feel that they know their rights so much that unani overwork by the way. Si lazima nifanye by the way. Hizo kujituma ni nini? Like, I'm not being paid that. Act your wage. Like, it's such a culture. Like, I don't understand it just because I can't relate to it. I was raised to know like hard work pays. You have to always go an extra mile. You always have to do more than you have been paid to do because your brand matters. The other day I was talking to a few of them. So we are launching a new project and I was asking them like, I know that in this culture, there's just a lot of talk about acting your wage and ensuring you just do the bare minimum and go home, which could be valid. I one of the things that I just ask, if you Googled your name today, like if you just went to Google and Googled your name, would anything come up other than TikTok? Some don't even have LinkedIn accounts. like it's only maybe TikTok and Instagram now, or like even Facebook. I don't think young people are on Facebook anymore.
It's
And
for
so-
millennials.
Yeah, so it's you are on TikTok and Instagram, full stop. And I was telling them, you see, the things that you do actually go into your CV. They don't go into the CV of the organization. It's the things, it's the papers that you write. It's the articles that you write. It's the things that you do. It's as much as you might feel you're doing them for the organization, at the end of the day, you move with these things. These are your personal achievements. You can be able to cite them somewhere. Where people think that if I'm doing something, I'm doing it for so and so, I don't understand. Because at the end of the day, you're gaining skills, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining insight, experience.
Yeah.
You're putting your name out there, you're building a brand. And that is what people don't understand. So we were in this room and people were Googling their names, and you find there are people literally that they don't have anything to their names. And I think that's a challenge that I can put to everyone. Just Google your name.
But why were they Googling if they knew it wouldn't come?
Maybe they thought a miracle would happen. And maybe someone would spot them somewhere.
Yeah.
So I believe like there is need for us to stress on hard work, but also because there's such a cultural shift where people are more of, you have to blame the workplace where you're coming from. It's toxic. My bosses are toxic. My mother is toxic. My father is toxic. My siblings are toxic. Everyone cannot be toxic around you. Everyone cannot be like, you cannot be able to not tolerate everyone because you need people. And at the end of the day, I think we need to get into a culture where people move away from blaming everyone else and looking at the mirror and asking, how did I contribute to this? I think the young people in this generation don't look at the mirror a lot. And so it's very easy to blame everyone else. And that has been one of my biggest challenges. And not all. So don't come for me. I have really seen a lot of level-headed young people as well.
Yeah, exactly. So where do you see the professional space in the next 10 years in line with what we've just talked about?
I think it will be very female and very young.
Do you mean to say that these challenges, female are kind of navigating them?
I believe that there's a resilience in women that men don't have.
Okay.
And I think it's more of how we have been culturalized, how we've been raised. I always see, I don't know whether it's a reality for everyone, but I'm very observant when it comes to how we raise boys and how we raise girls. Girls are supposed to be looking out for themselves, looking out for their environment, making sure their environment are safe, making sure they come back home early, making sure they dress appropriately, making sure they don't walk out at night, making sure. I always ask, who is even raising the boys? So if at all, let's talk about the gender-based violence piece. When you tell women to not walk at night and to not dress a certain way, what are you telling the men?
Men should chase them. If you don't find them, chase them. Look for them.
If they're dressed badly, rape them.
Just tell men, stop violating women. It's as
And that's
simple
the
as
thing.
that. Yeah.
And so because of that way men have been raised, there's not a lot of responsibility that is put on their shoulder. And I can tell you for a fact, the future of the workplace, the future of the who's and the who's of this generation will be people who are resilient and disciplined enough to understand how the trends are going and how things are working and how much work they need to put in. And that's why I really, really believe that the future of this generation, of the next generation, will be very female. And as someone who is a mom to boys, it's very, very unfortunate for me to be able to even confess it, because I would really want a world where there is equality. But then I foresee a generation where the affirmative action will be towards the boys, because the boys will be so left out that they will need to be taken back and put in line with the girls. And I think for me, it's a challenge for everyone who is raising a boy, every boy in this generation, to understand that we must be able to hold ourselves accountable. As a man, if you're in a space where someone is being abused, you have to speak up. You cannot be the man who is befriending everyone who violates women and then hide behind the fact that they were walking at night, they were doing all these things. Because those kinds of systems begin to develop when you are young. When you are at home, you can't be the mom who gives all the chores to the girls and the boys are left to roam freely. You cannot be the parent who says girls must be in the house by 5 and then boys can come in whenever they want. Because we are breeding a system where boys are indisciplined, and no one who is ever in discipline can ever fit in the world that is coming, because there's just so many things that you need to adjust to, and if you don't have the ability to, you will struggle.
So we were having a discussion, I think, on Saturday when we were at work, and someone was saying that this a crop of young men, like 14, 15 years in the villages, now they've started like getting their feet into these crime scenes. Like now they're the people like they're waiting for you at night with the panga and all that. I know you've heard of that. And now they, like he was saying, like what could be really the problem? And then someone said like a lot of mentorship and empowerment programs have always been towards girls, like since 10 years back. And now they feel like boy child has been left behind.
I really hate that phrase.
I was avoiding it because I know you went.
I really hate it.
But I haven't found a better one.
I don't understand. Where were they left behind at? What were they doing behind? These are people who don't menstruate. They don't miss school because they are menstruating. These are people who don't get pregnant. They have never gotten pregnant, and teen pregnancy that is not their. Where were they left?
They don't.
What were they doing there? These
imbalance.
are people who have always gone to school. There was a time my mom and my aunties could not go to school. It's the boys who could only go to school. There was a time at Nyayo house, your name was either in your dad's file or in your husband's file. You were not a person. Before 2010, women were not persons. You could not own land. Even in some countries to date, women cannot drive. Women cannot travel outside the country we could not travel outside the country without the permission of either our dads or our husbands.
Yeah.
So where were they left? What happened that they were left?
And also, what are they doing?
So I just never understand that thing of left behind. Where were you left behind at? Have you ever had a scenario that you're not taken to school and your sisters are taken to school? As a man? No.
No.
Have you ever had a scenario where you are told you cannot do something? Have you ever had a scenario where you're told you cannot inherit land? We were put in situations where if you are a widow and you are disinherited by your husband, even now, you cannot go back to your home because your brothers have disinherited. You don't have land. Where did we leave them behind? So that phrase in itself is problematic. What I feel has happened to the boy child is zero consequences, zero responsibility, zero accountability.
And then now luxury.
And the way they are raised, you can actually see that if someone gives birth to a boy, it's like it's a president has landed. This child will be pampered, and the women are the greatest culprits. So you find that the men are treated differently from the girls, and the girls learned responsibility early on because you'd be beaten up for anything. All the house chores were supposed to be your responsibility. Everything was supposed to be you. If your mom came back and the dishes are not washed, the boys are watching television, it's okay. It's the woman. We have even gotten to a point that men do not know even where they fit in anymore. And it's a socialization issue. It's a culturalization issue. And I think people need to have a conversation around how we raise boys and how we raise girls, because I believe that is where the problem started.
Exactly. All right. I think that's actually a whole topic that we can discuss some other time. That was just to touch on it.
Yeah.